nau mai hara mai, nau mai hoki mai, I tēnei o tātou kaupapa kōrero mō tēnei rangi. As we all know, we have Te Rita with us today, and I know a lot of people are excited to spend some time with you, Te Rita. Okay, so I'm going to open us up with Karakia, and then I'm going to hand the time over to Te Rita. We are recording Whānau, so just a reminder about that, and people will continue to join us as the doors are now open. I see everybody there jumping in, sending their aroha to you, Te Rita. So hopefully you get a chance to check out the chat too, see all the well wishes and greetings. Kuia no I rongoā I tērā, ka te mata tātou ki te karakia, me noi tātou. E te atua ana au pōnonga I noi atu ana ki a koe. O te tini o ngā mea pai o mai e koe ki a mata I rā. Mana ki tia mai, te kaupapa nei. Mai tō aroha, ki rongi I a mātau, ki runga hoki I a rātou. Kare anō kia tae mai ko rātou e mahi ana e noho ana, kei ahako kei whea rātou. Tuko mai tō aroha me tō manaakitanga, kia tutuki pai, kia whaihua, kia ora pai. E kaupapa me tātou katoa. Ko tēnei tā mātou ina ki a koe, I te ingoa te kaifaka ora, āmine.
Āmine.
Nau mai hara mai, nau mai hoki mai Te Rita. We've very much been looking forward to spending some time with you today. So I'm going to hand the time straight over to you.
Tēnā koe, Shelley. O tira tēnā tātou katoa. Koutou ko hono mai nei ki te whakarongo ki ngā pahupahu a te kuia nei. E hari kuana te ngā kau, te kite I ngetehi kanohi, e mohi o pai anau, haunga waku whanau ngā ake. Hoi anō, tēnā koutou wāhine mā, ko hono mai I te rangi nei. Kau e mā harahara tērā peka, reo Māori ai e te hiwa, ka reo Pākehā e te hiwa. So for those of you who can't follow my reo Māori, I will be speaking in English as well. So we'll flip and flop as I'm used to doing. So my kaupapa today was Karanga is toi. I never have to ask myself that question. The minute I think of performance in any way, shape or form, then it is toi. Recently, I spoke at Māgi All's symposium on toi is rongoā. And again, you know, the instant picture of rongoā that comes to mind is our ota, is our rākau, our plants and flowers that we use to heal ourselves. And in a lot of spaces, we don't think of toi as a healer. However, you know, those who are producing toi in any way, shape or form obviously address that part. Where is the well-being part of you know, toi, regardless of what branch of toi it is. So that actually was a different area for me to look at. But as I unpacked it, it showed me that actually it's no different to any other space that I do toi in anyway. And therefore we were able to look at the performance side and how much it plays a part in the well-being of an individual, let alone a rōpū, because most performance in te ao Māori is not individual, some is, and we make allowance for that. Most of it, of course, is collective. Hoi anō, I was reminded of an article that I wrote in 1996, which seems like millions of years ago now, in the New Zealand Journal of Media Studies. And the topic was Karanga I runga I te marae ātea. Is karanga a dying art? Now that was in 1996. So we're already, you know, a couple of decades down the road. And at that time, I was actually seeing and hearing very little, or, you know, very few productions of exciting karanga. We had really got to the space in the late 90s, early 2000s, where all you heard was karanga mai, karanga mai, karanga mai from the visiting group, and haere mai, haere mai, haere mai from the tangata whenua. And that was acceptable. You'd perform the ritual, got it out of the road, do the whai kore, let's get down to the business of the hui. And having been raised in the Kingitanga, and going to our Koroneihana festival every year, right from as long back as I can recall, and always being in the background. I'm not sure if you guys know, some of you will, because you're from here and you're part of that process. Even those who've been living in other parts of the Māori world for many, many years, have grown up and overseas, and then in the South Island, but you know your kingitanga, you know your Waikato tainuitanga, and every marae or hapu, or you know, in the outlying areas, and when I was a child, had a specific tasks to perform, and our job was to help our dad load up the trucks with hay bales, because people didn't sleep in wharenui in those days. They had to sleep in big marquees, and that's where we got that term, the kapok gang, because the mattresses were actually kapok mattresses. So we would help Dad put all the hay bales, spread them all out, and that's the first papa on the grass. Then the Kuias would come and put the whāreki on, and it was, in my day, it was one of my aunties whose job it was to lay the whāreki, and that's Auntie Kahu Kaumoana. And she did that with one of the other ladies from Tūranga Waiwai, Mrs. Tinny, and they would come in and put their whāreki down. Then we'd put them, the kapok crew would come and put the mattresses down, and I would always sneak off and go and sit right at the back of the pai, because I wanted to hear the kaikaranga. In those days, Piko Munro was one of the elders that, and she actually originated from Thames, but was raised in Tūranga Waiwai. And she was the main kaikaranga at Tūranga Waiwai. And you always knew when her voice started that was the beginning of the pōwhiri. It didn't matter where you were on the marae, if you knew what her sound was like, it would startle you. And I would always run as a young girl and sit at the back, because it was a musical experience for me. Because you wouldn't just get Piko doing her karanga, and of course I didn't understand the reo then, so I had no idea what she was saying, but she seemed to go on forever. And as she started, then you get all these other voices coming in, and I'd be sitting at the back thinking, trying to have a look, and yes, there would be at least a half a dozen women all lined up doing the karanga to the pōwhiri. That, after her death, even on Tūranga Waiwai, disappeared. And you'd be lucky if you had 2 or 3, max. And even today, even though within the group of the pai tangata whenua, there are heaps that are capable, it's only in certain pōwhiri, and then we come out and do the pōwhiri haka anyway, and we still maybe only have 2 or 3 reo kai karanga. But you can always guarantee that you can find that at Tūranga Waiwai. But around the motu, in everyday situations, and you know, and it's I see that both my daughter and my niece from our marae have joined me to support me today, even though they didn't know they were going to. But we're pretty much down to one family managing the pai omua. So when you've got a marae that's used nearly every weekend, and it's going to happen tonight, Pirongia School is having 150th? Yeah, 150th celebrations for the little Pirongia School that I first attended. That was my primary school in the old days. And who's going to do the pōwhiri and the karanga? My son and my daughter. I'm going to go out and help them. They don't know that yet, but I will just sit there. I no longer have to do the physical, you know, manifest myself physically, as I've got a strong pull that have come behind me. But this is happening all around the country. And it seems to be the last area of discussion or concern for any group managing a marae on a constant basis. But, you know, you can't do anything on your marae until you have your karanga. So I'm not here to talk about tikanga and karanga. It'll come out bits and pieces, because I think we've all been brought up at least to understand that our parents and our grandparents were raised under tikanga that was, well, I can't say primogeniture because that applies to males, but oldest female of oldest female of oldest female. Same as the process for oldest male of oldest male of oldest male for whai kōrero. So when we have the male doing the whai kōrero, it's the women's opportunity to karanga. I was taught by a male. My mother had long passed when I started to take up the role as a karanga girl. And I thought I was quite young. I was 28 when I was first called on to be a kai karanga, and that was for the Māori department at the University of Waikato, because they had no female staff. And I was an adult student, and we had cause to have karanga on the university often, but it was one occasion, and John Rangahau, Te Rangiha Niwa Niwa John Rangahau. I have to say that name because there's since been John Rangahaus after him, and they also have a bit of notoriety or fame, so have to get the right one, the first. And I happened to be in the department, and he saw me going past his office, and he yelled out, and he goes, "Eri, he panekoti tō." I didn't have a clue what he was saying, but I kind of knew what panekoti meant. So I go, "Yep, I got a black one in my basket." And he goes, "Cool, come on, hop in the car." There was him, Hirini Melbourne, Te Wharewhia, Milroy, and myself. Okay, off we go, driving. Didn't have a clue where I was going or what I was going to do. We got to Te Teko. If anybody, you guys know where Te Teko is, over in Ātea territory, along the Bay of Plenty there. And the old man, sorry, that's what we used to call him, the old man goes, "Right, here's the first one." And he threw a line of words at me. And I'm sitting there going, right, I think I have to learn these. So I'm sitting there running them over my head. And he goes, "We drive, keep driving." He goes, "Ko mau?" And I went, "Yep." We got to the Tāne Bridge. And if you've ever driven on the Tāne Bridge, it's got railway lines that go across it. So it's quite scary, because unless the bell's going, you don't know when you can't go across, and you just take your luck that the bells are going to go when you're halfway across this bridge that has a railway line on it. Anyway, he gives me my second one, throws it at me, and we turn into Tāne, and then we turn into the road. We don't go around to Waimā or Pōtiki, we turn in the road that's going into Ruatoki. And I thought, bugger, I'm going to have to be a kai karanga, and I have never done a karanga in my life, and we're going to Tūhoi land? I was a bit, yes, you can imagine, I was a bit catching my breath then. We're about, I don't know, two or three turns away from the marae, and he goes, "Right, here's your third one." And I got my three. We pull up outside Tauaro Marae, what's that, Nuku Marae, sorry. And we hop out, and I realise it's a tangihanga. And what's more, as I start to look closely, because I didn't have to wear glasses in those days, and see who was actually sitting on the maho, sitting in the pai, the Whānau pani sits in their own space with the tūpāpaku, and then other people on the pai, I realised I knew who the tūpāpaku was, and that was Bāna Heremia's mother. And of course, Chai had been a student in the Māori department for a short time. So I got a bit, thingy. Anyway, we hop out of the car, and the old man goes, "Right, first one, poake." Pokes me in the back. We start walking. I give the first one. I mean, I didn't even know when I was supposed to start. So I was completely being directed by him. Then he pokes my back again, second one, pokes my back again, third one. We stand there, do our tangi, go and sit down. go through the process of whaikore and all the rest of it. Haere ki te haridu, cup of tea, and then we were on our car back home to varsity. And he just looked at me with a big grin on his face and he goes, "How was that?" And I said, "Oh, I can't remember a word I said." I said, I don't even know what you told me. And he goes, "Kei te pai. It will always come back to you when you need it." And of course, he was absolutely correct, because it does. The words that he gave me, I now have the skill of language to manipulate them and change them around to suit the situation. But he was the person that taught me how to karanga. And once he'd opened that doorway for me, Timoti followed up. And Timoti's job, of course, was to give me the kupu, because I didn't have them. So I was really well supported. And there were reasons why this particular karaua chose me to teach. And he chose me later on too for another situation. However, that was my introduction into karanga. Scary, you know, what is that thing about throwing fat into the frying pan? Whakatauki adage, pahi adage. And a really scary experience, and one that I would never have liked to give anybody else. But for me, it was the right huarahi, because it threw me into a space that I managed to maintain for a good, I have to say, a good 40 years. But now, physically, I can't do it. I can if I have to, but and this has been part of my study. When I've been teaching in a really hard karanga space, we actually got to teach and they've got to practice it and do it. I do talk about there is a space and a time when our bodies physically no longer can produce the kind of karanga that we were capable of 10 years ago. And that's why really Kuia shouldn't be doing the karanga. It should be those who've got the skill of body and fitness, good pair of lungs, all the rest of it. You know, you're physically able to stand up and karanga for a good, 10 minutes, half an hour, or whatever. And that's why in some of our tikanga, I think it's a little bit, you need to think of the practicalities, because we instantly think, oh, there's a kuia, she can do the karanga. Now, I've made that mistake. I went to a big hui at Pukehina, Pukehina Marae, which is in Te Puke. It's not in Tauranga, it's in Te Puke. Even though the place where the battle took place is Pukehina, the name of the marae in Te Puke is called Pukehina. And there would have been a good 100 of us in the Ope Whakaeke. And I think it was to do with an ātarangi hui and something about the reo anyway. And I'm looking at this, there's a good, at least 15 wahine there that had grey hair. And I thought, cool, I can just stay at the back and be the waiata girl if I'm needed. Heka, we were just about halfway, at least a third onto the marae, no reo. And I'm thinking to myself, oh no, I'm stuck in the back here. Oh well, just fewer. So I did. And when I realised that none of those kuia up front were going to give any voice, and we had such a big ope, come on, we have to fulfil the tikanga. So I did. And I carried us all the way in. And totally surprised that nobody else came in to support me. And I knew heaps of women in the group that were capable karanga girls. But I think it was the whole situation that scared them. And so they just shut up. And even though I opened my mouth to get us on and do the right thing for all of us, nobody supported me. So that actually became a discussion in the hui about, basic tikanga and getting back to training our women up to karanga. And I mean, crikey, that was, years ago too. And I think even today we are having difficulty. As I said, my own marae is an example. We're having difficulty manning our marae, not only in the pai whai kōrero, but in the karanga space. And I'm sitting here looking at a couple of graduates of Te Panekiretanga, And I know that you guys are fulfilling the job that was assigned to you when you became students on Te Panekiretanga. And Te Panekiretanga o Te Reo was set up by Te Whānau Aotearoa to enhance the ability of kai karanga and to enhance the ability of kai kōrero, firstly on their marae, firstly for their own hapu and iwi, and then for the wider country. Because a lot of the first students were, well, all the first students had to be engaged in te reo, that they had to be earning a living from te reo in some way, shape or form. But as I mentioned to our hosts, the idea was to also correct the language that was being listened to on radio and TV. And of course, these days, I have to really listen hard to find a mistake. I still find them, but I used to use the old tapes of Te Karere and Te Koha and Mokohia to test some of my students in my classes to see if they could pick up the mistakes. And yeah, it happens, but not so often these days, I'm happy to say. You can, our broadcasters are fabulous. However, there's still some room to work there. But getting back to the karanga, and, for me, I can't not say it's toi, because to prepare yourself to do a karanga and to do it at the best of your ability and actually make it a story and not just a mihi, even though it's a mihi space for wahine, but to make it a story about who is this that's come to visit us, where have they come from, and, give the background and all of that, and why are they here. We can do as much as the ope whakaike can in terms of informing us. So, all of those tikanga, finding out who is your rōpū coming, make sure you know what their maunga and awa and who their rangatira are, so you can acknowledge all of that in your karanga. That's, those are the basic lessons around that. But talking about tikanga, I'm really happy to share this particular example, because it's a unique example, and I've not seen or heard it since. But the grandfather of some of my grandchildren from Pohara passed away, and because my son and his partner and their children live on the marae, I'd organise for my children and our mokopuna and mokopuna tuarua that we would go out early the next morning before everything started for the day, and so that we could sit there and help the pai o te haukainga for the rest of the first day, because he was a noted kaumātua from Ngāti Koroki Kahukura and in the Kingitanga. So I said to my kids, right, let's all go early. So we did. We got out there early, and not to my surprise, next minute a bus from Ngāti Haua pulls in. And if you're familiar with our hapu and around Waikato Tainui, Ngāti Haua are very, really late for any pōwhiri. They are known for being early, before time. That to them is being on time. And so I wasn't surprised. And so I was thinking about karanga and whai kōrero, so I went over to them, and I noticed that was just the teachers from the school, but I said to them, come on, you two, mau ngā kōrero hei kawe, and mau te karanga, nā te mea whānau pani kei wāngana ia mātao. That wasn't my plan, but I thought I'd offer them that. I did, and they said, kawhai, hei te pai, hei koutou, because they also knew me and my children well. So I said, kapa, are you sure? Yep, we're all good. It's just the kids from school and us coming early so we can get back to school. I said, righto. So next minute, I turned around to Haani, my oldest daughter of 5, and said to her, I think I want you all to karanga at the same time. And she goes, oh well, hei konei tonu koe, ko koe te boss, kei a koe te tikanga. But because Haani is my oldest, and we do have a tikanga that binds most iwi, I didn't want to trample on her space. but she always realises I'm going to come up with something out of place sometimes that might jog them into thinking about, ooh, what's happening here? Yep, Mum, 3 days, go for it. I said, right. So I talked to my 5 daughters who were all with me, with their children, and said, okay, this is how it's going. I'm going to start, but I'm going to only talk to the two papaku. I want you all after Haani to come in behind your older sister and do whatever. Do your bits, go for it. I have 2 children who are from Taranaki. I said to those 2, but I want you to weave your mihi from Koro Taranaki into the whole process, please. I want you to bring your iwi with you. You kahunguna girls, you bring that out too. So I wanted them to be voices for all of their iwi and let me just concentrate on our connection to the two papaku. And it was fabulous because I didn't have to worry about that space. I just was able to kōrero to wali and have our tangi, you know, with each other as Kuia and Karawa of these mokopuna that we had in common. And I know it went off well because I didn't feel anything that I should have to worry about. And so, yeah, we completed that. And I thought, damn, I was so locked into my own space. I didn't free myself up to listen to my girls. I had no worries that they weren't, I knew they would accomplish what they needed to do, but I wanted to hear how beautiful it was. And I totally missed a brilliant experience. So I turned around to one of my mokopuna, who I knew would have engaged himself, not a female, one of the males. And I said, Moko, what did that sound like? And he goes, oh, Nan, it was an orchestra playing. You would have enjoyed it. And it sounds strange to say that because I had totally divorced myself from them and I missed out on that experience. But the rest of the people didn't. And that's what I had designed. I don't know that many too many mothers would take that risk. I don't, you know, I've never seen it happen since. I've never heard of it happening since. I didn't expect to start a new trend. This was just special, and we've never done it again since. But I don't doubt that now the tauira has been presented to my own girls and my mokopunas, because a lot of the mokopuna are pretty, you know, of karanga age in terms of what other iwi and hapu do, and have since been kai karanga in some spaces. But I see it as a valuable gift. It was our koha to him that nobody else could design. So, you know, in terms of tikanga, I didn't feel like I had takahi anybody's tikanga, because this was about me and mine and giving back to ours. So it was still very interpersonal, if you like. There was no other outside public there, no other iwi had come. That was our plan, to get there early. And what was actually, you know, nice about it too was my son and his children came out, and because the mokos were still in their jamas, so they next minute you see them running out to join us, and it was lovely because without even talking, they knew what to do and they knew what was happening. Oh, we need to go and sort tautoko Nanny because Nanny's got something to say to Koro. And, you know, I didn't even say to my son, he just grabbed his kids, come on, we're going over there. So I still share that experience because it was such an amazing thing to have happened. And I wished it had been recorded, but special things like that don't often get recorded because they were meant for that time and that space. And as another example, when I left Te Tari Māori of the University of Waikato, Hirini composed a song for me, and it was the most beautiful song. We were all crying and all the rest of it. And later on, I said to him, gee, I've completely forgotten the words already, a little in the tune, and normally he only had to sing his songs once for me in Whānau. And he said, tough, you ain't ever hearing it again. That's a one-off. He said, I haven't written the words down. I haven't recorded it. I've played it once, never to be played again. So, you know, special moments well, you have to enjoy them for that and not worry about recording, which is, an interesting place to be. Getting back to the tikanga of delivering, and even though I said I wasn't going to go there, but I think because we still haven't managed to man our marae, and I can see some of you, we talked about it saying, yep, you're right, not enough of us. And I don't think that Pirongia marae is any different to a lot of other marae, and we're just lucky. We've got 2 strands of families that can cover those spaces, but of course they're also strong in the back. My whānau, luckily there's a tuakana and a tainer in the male space, because the tainer, if he can help it, don't want to do the whai kōrero. He'd much rather have a belt and a butcher knife attached to him. So, there's still of those situations in terms of who should perform the roles if we don't have the manpower in our own spaces. Does that mean then that we should be allowing our girls, our daughters, to be at least trained in the space so that they're available? Because the whole idea of keeping the space for Kuia, I think, is probably outdated. And I've been accused of being a staunch traditionalist in lots of spaces, but I actually don't think I am, because I'm open to manipulation or juggling or anything that allows the process to go well. And of course, I'm talking about performance. I'm really talking about performance. Is that how well you can do, that toi. Tō I tō ihi, I waho I a koe. To bring out that substance inside you that gets you going and makes you able to perform in any space. And we're okay when we hit the haka stage, whether it's ngahau or whakataitai. For some strange reason, we're pulling all this stuff out of us, but we can't then hold on to what we need in that stuff and reuse it in another space. And that's become more of an issue, I suppose, in my terms of thinking, because the minute we did take our ritual performance, off the marae and put it on the stage, whether it's just for entertainment or for competition, we've changed its construct, we've changed its meaning. And I've written articles where I talk about breaking the stage or performance on the stage, and it's all to do with karanga and all that kind of stuff. It amazes me that we very rarely have a competitive space where there are no kai karanga on stage. So many programs are designed where our women or our girls deliver karanga. And that's a real staunch aspect of performance, haka performance, that you'll see in Waikato. Even our primary school kids will open up their performance with their 3 kai karanga. And it's standard right up to the senior level. Not all teams do it, but we certainly will introduce ourselves with a karanga, because it's a perfect vehicle to use to get ourselves on the stage and to introduce ourselves in terms of a whakataitai construct, which says that if you're going to do a waiata tira, you do a waiata tira, then you go back off and do a whakaieke. So perfect. Let's use the karanga to get us on stage to do the waiata tira, and then we can go back off. And sometimes you might hear a karanga again. And I've often questioned that process. And you probably haven't read the articles, but it's in some of my articles where I say, well, when we're going on the stage, one, if we're our team that has come from out of Rohe, how come we're doing the karanga first? Because there's nobody in the audience calling you on the stage. And then if we're hau Karanga, yep, that's all good. We'll do the Karanga because we're from there and we're welcoming all our visitors. But there's no reply from the audience. So is it a Karanga? These are the things I have questioned in some of my papers, because in terms of performance, entertainment, competition, we use what we want to use and we manipulate it to suit the time. But, you know, if we're looking at the Manakura Tahi comps that are going to be at Nelson at the end of this month, I bet you we're going to have primary school kids on stage doing the karanga. And yet we wouldn't let them do that at home on the marae. Why not? If their teachers are allowing them to do it at the primary school age, why aren't our whānau and marae following on from that? They got the skill, they got the talent, they know what they're doing. Most of them have got te reo today. When my children were young, nobody had te reo. So, you know, it had to be your tutors that had it just to make sure everything was right. Because myself and my 5 oldest children, we were lucky in that we learnt te reo together. So they were at high school, I was at varsity, and we came home to a community of language learners every night. So we had we had this group that we could grow with ourselves. And so, you know, as much as my kids and vice versa, you know, they probably wouldn't say that, but it's true. I will never be a Timoti or a wharehuia, and I know I digress, but it's all attached. Your language is the base of all of this. Because I wasn't born in their time. I didn't grow up in their space. I can only access what I can. But fortunately for me and for my children, some of them have grown up in a different space. My 2 youngest are the native speakers of our whānau because they had access to kohanga reo kura kaupapa and wharekura. Haani and the older siblings didn't have that. But they've caught up and gone past in some spaces. However, it's an interesting development. And I'm lucky that I can leave this space knowing that I have produced quite a good pool of brilliant kai karanga people who understand it, not just for its place on the marae, but its place anywhere in our company, whether we are, and you know, Waikato is strong at, you know, karanga whakanui and pau, that if there's a hui going on, you'll always get our kuia get up and do a karanga to thank everybody, to mihi to whoever were giving us their time. That's something you always hear in Waikato, acknowledging something great that just happened. And, you know, I was going to try and show Haani doing a brilliant karanga at a recent double 21st of 2 of my mokopuna in Australia, that some of our family went to go to, and having this brilliant karanga coming up during a 21st birthday. But so appropriate, and the kupu were hāngai tonu bang on for that particular. So it was 2 first cousins, a girl and a boy, from a niece and a niece. I've got so many, I've got to sort it all out, that had a 21st together. And that's one of my older brothers who had passed away a long time ago, his actual mokopuna. So we were all there to support. But the tikanga goes with us because it's embedded in us. It goes with us. Haani didn't have to go and knock on any door over there and ask permission. Can I do this? Can I do that? No, she was bound to do it in terms of what we as a whānau and a hapu expect in our teachings to be taken out there and used and listened to, and being, you know, taking time to share in it. So, having said that, I think it's probably time I let you guys throw me some questions my way. Kia ora, Shelley. You can perhaps direct that section.
Direct the traffic. Ora koutou. O ngā mihi ki a koe te rita. Just the beautiful kōrero and the shared experiences and the the stories and hearing you talk about your tamariki, your mokopuna, your mokomoko, tuarua, mokopuna tuarua, beautiful. So, Whānau, we are going to open it up. And just want to thank Haani too. Haani, I saw you putting in little prompts there. when your mum said thingy, you went thingy equals wehi.
Just being her papa kupu.
So thank you for that. But please utilise this time to share thoughts or whakaaro or ask a pātai. While we have Te Rita with us, while we have Haani sitting there as well.
Yeah, I may
Never
not have
mind.
explored too much of the toy side, but, you know, for me, it's definitely performance, and I definitely place performance in toy. So you can ask me anything if you like. It doesn't have to be about karanga. And mihi ana ki a koe whae, Lynne, because you always tune in. I've seen you tune in every week to everybody's kōrero. Good tautoko, well done, thank you.
I wanted to ask something. I suppose you talked about not having as many whānau at home anymore to teach. And I know that in my own immediate whānau, we used to have my auntie Winnie Bidwa.
Yes.
And when she told you to get up, you got up.
Yeah.
And it didn't matter if you were the tainer of the daughter of the tainer or whatever your ranking was in the whānau. When she told you to get up, you got up, but she was right there behind you. And her kipa were coming out of her mouth straight into your ear and out your mouth at the same time. And that's how I learned. But I suppose now, you know, we don't have, and in my whānau, we don't have anyone like our Auntie Winnie anymore. And in Tokoro, when we were there, we used to have Bella Roycroft and we had June Ormsby. And, you know, so as those people that have to carry that knowledge and that wisdom no longer with us, we've found that no one else, you know, no one's keen to step up, nobody wants to, but also nobody sees the need for it. And so we show up and everybody just looks at everybody and thinks, oh no, someone else will do it. And then nobody does it.
I understand, because I knew Auntie Winnie, we knew Auntie Winnie well, and remember Winnie Bidwa, because she was a teacher. So, yep, and that was her expectations. But you're right, we used to have women like that would encourage us, but those women have long since passed. And, you know, I still see the gaps all over the place. Han, did you want to add anything in?
Probably just to say that, you know, rite nei ki te whakarau o te reo. Me a tarautaki ka pēwhia te whakakiki au a wāhanga i tō marae. I whia rāna i tō whānau. I don't think any of this has happened by accident. To say that, you know, yes, we're fortunate enough to be able to have watched Mum and our auntie, and other aunties and nannies, but to ensure that that was maintained, you know, we had our own rautaki reo. That was just do and follow what Mum was doing and following, and still doing that, you know, and it works. But for our marae especially, probably two of the biggest factors have been establishing our own whānau kapahaka, which for most kapahaka attract kaihaka. We attract kaihaka, yes, but we had quite a few people that came because of their reo journeys and wanting to be in a space where te reo Māori was, I'll say 85% of the time, if not a bit more, 100 for some and then 85 for others. That was the reo that they heard. So they came for that space, and there with a couple of our cousins that joined us then, you start to be able to provide a base for the kind of karanga that you would like, if that makes sense. Because we can all do the rote, and I'm not kaire te whakaiti te rā, we all got to start somewhere. And that's how most are, you know, you say the same karanga for 5 years or 3 years, depending on how quickly you want to develop your own reo. But to be able to get the, I suppose, the level of deal that we would like, it was ensuring that those people were being exposed to other spaces in deal, and then going on their own journeys. I'm talking outside our whānau, including my cousin Te Mihinga. She's with us.
Yeah, sorry,
in that
John.
space.
When I talk about my daughters, I always include my nieces, with especially Te Mihinga. She's been with us all her life. So I'm sorry, Noni, she's not separated from that space. She's part of
sorry, Te Mihinga.
She's part of the deal. She got to do it too. So when Haani rings her up, she runs. Sorry, Haani.
No, Pai. So Kuina, that's the puna that I'm talking about. And so outside of that puna, and then also setting up or establishing wānanga reo on our marae. And we cater for everyone, but we still have one of the wānanga where it's just concentrated on karanga and whai kōrero. And that's what, hopefully, yes, not hopefully, we are doing what the karaua asked us to do at the Panekiretanga. Well, actually, those ones asked us to do it long before we joined the Panekiretanga. So I think that was their expectation from the beginning, that's where we would head. So it hasn't happened by accident, and we take all the accident ones with great pleasure, if that makes sense. And so it's just, and still working. And as Mum said, good, but karia tai te hara mai ki te pōwhiri kai te kimi kai kōrero ai. He's taking, sorry, I just said to Mum so we have a exactly that. We're going to support the kura in their jubilee today. And so as I said, didn't happen by accident, but the more we have it around, the more it becomes noa and natural for that to happen and for people to be okay. So even being able to say, oh, you're up today, or one of us is missing, and so our cousin who's never done the karanga gets told by mum and auntie, or auntie and mum, oh, I don't know where Haani is, you're on. And so away she goes. But from there, I know that if we're somewhere, I can rely on her now. Not now, I always could. But we always start our ones too off with pao. That's the beauty of being in Tainui waka. Ka tīmata ki te wharekai. Ana ki reira patu ai te whakamā. Patu ai te mataku ki te rongo I tō ake reo. So that's the other one too, has been able to start them with pao. It's only 4 lines. They can choose. It doesn't matter if their tune goes all wet because it's their tune. And it's not as scary as it being on the marae ātea. But they still get to hear their own voice. So now that, sorry, Mum, I'm probably speaking a bit much, but that's part of the toy stuff. I suppose if Mum wants to put it that way. And I think the reason that she said she didn't talk about it as much as Karanga's toy, because she doesn't see the difference. And she did state that at the beginning, but that there isn't a difference. We perform during our lives. That's what we're there for in certain spaces. And so, that is a performance, and being able to patua the shyness and the scaredy catty in you. Once you can get that, then everything else is easy. So it's the same as any performance. Once you can do that, then you're all good. Whānau, and it didn't happen over 2 months either. This is like, hope I can write all the same, Mum, because this is all part of my.
Hope you can, darling. Yes.
Yep. Is that this is like a 30-year journey she's talking about. It didn't just happen. It took work, and we're still working at it to ensure that our next gen can do the same thing. So, ko taku kupu whakamutunga, go forth and procreate e te whānau, because we need more Māori-speaking babies on this earth. Tēnā tātou.
Kia ora dot, kia ora Haani. He tino kōrero wera. I just wanted to add in with this whole business of ahi kā and ahi mātao. It's happening too much. And just this week past, I was in the car with my Tana, and she's on her phone. That's, she lucky got one of those phones that she just has to talk to it and it talks back to her. So while she's driving, she's talking and organising this. They wanted to bring a tūpāpaku to Hui Te Rangiora Marae in Hamilton, and she manages, because my tuakana and I and our whānau have gone back to Pirongia to keep that marae going. She manages our space at Hui Te Rangiora here in Hamilton. And so I could hear her talking. She goes, "Oh gosh, I don't even know if they've got a kai karanga or kai kōrero, and they're coming from out of town and are up north and all the rest of it." And this is what she's faced with nearly every time. People who live in the city but are actually belong and connect out of the city, wanting to bring their tangihanga to Hui Te Rangiora Marae. It happens at Kirikiriroa Marae as well, I know. But they have people on hand there. We don't at Hui Te Rangiora. And they expect when they ring and book the marae for a tangi that the marae will just offer the service, that there will just automatically be a kai karanga and a kai kōrero to bring them on. And in some cases, they want us to supply for their side as well. Now, it's not just Hui Te Rangiora. That happens at a lot of marae. And we're just lucky now for Pirongia that at least Haani lives in Pirongia now, so we can't escape it. But, we're connected. But it's a real kaupapa that has to be talked about, because, whānau are placing stress on marae, because we all have to work too. So if somebody wants a 4 o'clock pōwhiri, some of us got to take time off work to go and facilitate them being able to bring their tūpāpaku on the marae. And I know that, when I saw who the whānau was, because I happened to be a Facebook friend, and next minute the posts come up, I thought, oh, thank goodness for that. That whānau would have been able to have managed themselves. And that was Auntie Owen's whānau. So, and the Robinsons. But, still, for the initial pōwhiri, they wanted these miraculous kai karanga and kai kōrero people to appear from within the buildings of Hui Te Rangiora and come out and welcome them. That doesn't happen. That's a city marae, as you know. And everybody who's attached to it now have full-time jobs. But anyway, I just think it's a kaupapa kōrero, this difference between ahi ka and ahi mātao. We need to be more cognizant of that as people who demand services. Well, because they say, well, we're paying for the marae. Yeah, well, taiwa, that's a different space. You're just paying for the building and the services that marae can provide, which karanga and kai kōrero sit outside of that. However, as Haani said, we've got a pōwhiri tonight because there's a Pirongia School reunion, but yeah, we'll figure out how we're going to complete that. I te ahi nei. So, okay, is there any other questions?
Well, I'm starting to learn. What I'm starting to learn from our people is that a lot of people take the kōrero in, and then they just want time to sit with that kōrero and just to digest it and mull it over. I think that's happening now quite often in this series space.
Well, if you guys ever see me or have a desperate kōrero, tikana mai mā te imera, or ask me. Yep.
I see Lynne's got your mic on, and I see Maree putting her hand up.
I'm just remembering when I first saw, at the time, no, I'll go back. My daughter came talking about Te Rita, and I wondered who the hang was this Te Rita person. And she was talking about kapahaka and all that. And then I took her, we went to Turanga Waiwai, and I said to her, oh, Bernadette's Bernadette's is doing is leading this today, and we were sitting there watching. She said, "That's who Te Rita is, Mum." And I went, "No, I've only known her as Bernadette when she was up at the whare. I only knew," and so I just could not get this. And it's only just recently that I've actually put the name and the face together, because for me you were always Bernadette.
Still am. Still am.
So,
that dates how long you've known me.
and so I thought, oh, and so when I'm listening to you now, I'm relating to so much of the things that I was sort of there but not in there. And now I wish I was more in there, so that I'm not at this age trying to catch up, and it's trying to enthuse my mokopuna and my mokopuna rua, and even one of the other double greats, whatever's there. But they're all more concerned now with either these things,
Oh yeah,
and then actually having to put some mahi into doing what they're going to regret not doing, like I'd done. And just to try and get that across to them has been horrendous. So listening to you and how your family have pulled together. And yes, I remember when we did Te Reo in Duke Street, and it was
yeah, the kohanga reo, yeah.
yes, at the kohanga reo there. And so that we had, oh, what was her name, was our kaiako there. And I think it was your brother was the kai awhina at the time.
My son.
Oh, your son. Oh, okay.
Yeah, my number 2 son.
Yes.
He's just turned 53.
Oh,
so yeah, he would have been.
oh yeah, that'd be right, because that's about the same age as my son. That would be correct.
Yeah.
Yeah. And so, you know, looking at that and I'm thinking, man, I just wish I'd had that sort of a background to help bring all mine together. So just to appreciate what you and your family have done. And when I look back and I think of different things, it's funny how many times I think of Haani being there, or you being there, or, you know, just family members that have come around. And then I listen to people talking and the bidwas, and I'm thinking, oh yes, I went to school with some of them, and it's, so this has become quite an exciting place for me to be, because it takes me back to and brings back memories. And so thank you as Rangahau, and that, although I'm there for the Rangahau part, I'm also there because it just takes me back to family in a big way.
Kia ora, lovely. So Maree had a question. Yeah.
Maree.
O tēnā koe whaia, kia ora Haani. I've got a question for both of you. You know, with all this, you know, new technologies that we have, and how do you both feel about your karanga being recorded, or, you know, people having their phones out, or, you know, how do you feel about that?
Well, Mum was going to show a recording of me today. And it was funny. She's like, so we went before we went tahi today, or actually we got a message on our Whānau chat. If anyone does a karanga, please record it. Okay. For the kaupapa. So to be honest, moku tonu, and probably Mum the same, kaore haha, because it's a teaching tool. You know, he mea ako, and if it allows, you know, people start making money off us, or he re ke tērā, we'll take some of that. But no, it actually allows them to go back, have a listen, and it's good memories for our own whānau too, that don't access that, like our Australian whānau and the whole of Jamboree, New South Wales. Yeah, so kaore hea kio, I think, again, it's just been appreciative, and when people talk about those videos, to say who they are, and, you know, and those sorts of things, just like any rangahau, if we can record the mana to, you know, where that space started, then pai baratu tērā Maree nā, mahi a te mahi.
Oh, ka pai. Ngā mihi. Ka pai.
Yeah, you know I tautoko that one. Yeah. For all the same reasons. Yeah, he mea ako.
Oh, kia ora tātou. Oh, ko tai tātou ki te Te wāwhakakapinga. Just want to acknowledge some of the kōrero that Haani shared today, just that having a whānau rautaki reo, having a whānau reo strategy in there, and then delivering the wālanga at the marae, and prioritising te reo, but providing space for karanga and whai kōrero, and then your kōrero about starting with the pao. So my mother is 78 now. She'll be 79 this year, and last year she did her first pao
Oh,
by going back to our marae in Rangiri, going back to, she's just been going back to the marae and having wānanga and attending, and then she did her first pao for kai at the marae, and she loved it. She
how
loved
neat.
it. But all these years she's been pushing me up the front like she thinks I know what I'm doing, and I don't. And I was thinking, I never got to start with the pao. I got thrown in with Auntie Winnie and then just had to carry on. But I realised that I've got in Māngere and I've got in Rusty, and that going back to the marae and starting again. But this time my mum's there with me and going along there and standing with her and doing things together. And that's the other thing that came out of the kōrero today was that that collectiveness, that collectivity, and doing this as a whānau and not having to be a lonely journey or an isolated journey, but the importance of travelling that journey together. And that's one of the beautiful things about te reo, that it brings us together, but having that person to lead that. So te Rita, I want to acknowledge that.
Thank you. I just want to encourage, women too, if they don't have mothers or grandmothers who karanga, but they have a little drive inside of them that says, you can do it, go for it. I'm sure your elders will be nothing but proud of you. So, take the step. Just because it's not happened in your whānau, don't mean you can't be the first one. Go for it.
I runga anō I tērā. If you've got that drive, if you've got that little inkling, that kākano, that seed there, go for it. I just want to echo that. Hoi anō, nei rata tino mihi ki a koe te Rita. Karanga is toi, and understanding it was, for you, there is no separation. So while you're speaking karanga, you're also speaking toi.
Yeah.
So we are understanding that and having a greater appreciation for that. Haani, we loved having you in here, sharing your kōrero with us, and I hope that you're able to hold on to some of that kōrero you've been talking about for your own kairangi journey that you're on at the moment. Tata ki te wā whakamutinga, kārero, so kia kaha. And to all our beautiful wahine who joined us here today, nei rata mihi ki a koutou. Okay, so we're going to close with Karakia, and then reminder, next week we're going to have a bit of a hard-hitting one from Dr. Morehu McDonald, so come prepared for a little bit of we start talking about cultural genocide and the impact of colonisation. So it'll be a bit of a switch up next week. So this week we've got the rongoā marae definitely going on. Next week I think we're going to have a bit of tū mātauinga in the space. Hoi anō, nei rā anō te mihi ki a koutou. Me noi tātou. Kia tau, kia tātou katoa, te atu whai tō tātou āri kia i ukaraiti. Me te arahoa, te atua, me te whiwhinga tahitanga ki tō wairua tapu. Ake. Amene.
Amene. Hei kona koutou.
Amene.